This is our first show in the new year. And all of those you out there in radio land and all of those you that's out there in TV land that's tuned into the coach, I want to welcome you into this new year. And as we approach this new year, we approach a new decade. And there are a lot of issues and concerns that yet stands before us that has to be resolved as we go into this new decade. You know, the coach travel and meet a lot of people from different racial backgrounds. I know some of you watch this show, y'all think the coach is a racist, and some of y'all think the coach is not a racist. Whatever best describe the coach in your mind, that's good and fine, because at the end of the day, the coach is the coach, and the coach is going to be the coach, whether you like him or not, for better, for worse, for good, for bad. But I've come to find out that when I go through different communities, different neighborhoods, and meet people, and the coach is very much a people person, if you didn't know him. I'm a people person. I like interacting and talking with people. I find that people are hurting all across the city, all across the state, all across this county, and even in other states and communities, people are hurting. They're hurting financially, people are hurting emotionally, and people are looking for help from those that are in position to bring about change in their lives. And one thing I found out in dealing with people, it really doesn't matter if you're white, you're black, you're Hispanic, or whatever ethnic background you make up. People are hurting. And people are looking and seeking help from the powers that be. And I find that in the midst of this political structure, and even this business structure that make up our business community and our electoral communities or districts or neighborhoods, whichever apply to you, that there is a cesspool of corruption within our political structure and within the quote-unquote business community. And I find that people are in these positions are only in the position for their own personal gain and personal wealth. The more I travel, the more I talk to people, the more I study and look at circumstance and condition, I find that very few people have a deep-rooted concern about humanity, about their brothers, their fellow brothers and their fellow sisters' concerns and their needs. And the question was asked, am I my brother's keeper? We have a responsibility to be concerned about the social and economic condition. We have a responsibility to be concerned about the social and economic conditions of our fellow brother and our fellow sister, because it affects you and me directly when crime is going on in our community as a result of the lack of economic dollars that have been allowed to flow in our inner city communities. When we look at a vast sea of wealth flowing throughout our inner city communities, and we see poverty, we see lack and need in those communities, and there is no concern. When we go through certain communities in this city, we see blocks and blocks and blocks of neighborhoods and communities that have been neglected by this administration that has been allowed to rule this city like a pharaoh for the last 22 years. But yet we have a media that has praised this mayor as a great mayor, Master Richie, of the city. And when I look at the vast sea of neglect that has taken place in our inner city, African American and Hispanic communities, I'm disturbed. I'm disturbed how the media can fall short in his duty and his obligation to to point out the deficiencies that this administration has left under its watch. I'm disturbed. I'm disturbed that the media would overlook blocks after blocks after blocks of neglected communities when you have the wealth that flow through the city, and that we would magnify downtown as being the heartbeat of the city. But yet tax dollars are pulled from every phase of the city, every tax-paying citizen of the city. Tax dollars are being pulled from them, and we're being overtaxed, and we're being assessed fines and fees all over the city. And we have pockets after pockets after pockets of neglect in our inner cities. And then we have this fiasco with the selling off of the city parking meters. And now the meters have gone up to over $5 an hour to park under Mayor Daley's, Master Ritchie's administration. And the media will portray this mayor as being a great mayor. When you are robbing the city's tax base of TIF dollars, you raided through over $1 billion in the selling of the lease, and the city is practically bordering on bankruptcy, according to the quote-unquote experts. And as we enter into this new decade, in this 2011 season, which embarks on a new decade, there has to be changes in this political structure that the city functions under. And as we tape this show, we are within a month of the February 22nd, 2011 election that will elect a new mayor, that will elect aldermen, city council members. And those of you that's watching this show, it is incumbent upon you that you have to go out and vote in this upcoming election. You have to vote for change in this upcoming election. We have a record number of automatic candidates running, primarily in each and every one of the 50 wards. And I would encourage all of you to get your family, your friends, and your neighbors and go out to the polls and vote for a new alderman. We need a change. We're going to get a change on the 5th floor of City Hall no matter what. And we're going to get into that a little bit later. But we're going to get a change on the 5th floor of City Hall no matter what. But we need a change of the aldermen, all of the aldermen. I am on a vote 'em all out kick. Now you're going to be going to the polls, those you in all 50 wards. And I believe all 50 wards, for the exception of 4 or 5, have candidates challenging the incumbents. And I'm encouraging you, go out and vote them out of office. It don't matter if you got a white alderman, a black alderman, a Hispanic alderman. Clean house. Give it a new slate from top to bottom. Because I want you to think, when you go to the polls and vote, think about those parking meters. And I want you to think about the fact your aldermen voted for those parking meters. And then I want you to think about those red lights that's all over your city, especially if you live in the black community, the poor black community, and the Hispanic communities, the poor Hispanic communities. You got red lights all over your community. Snap, 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 snap. $100 every time. Remember, your aldermen, I don't care what they say, they voted for it. And here's your time to let your alderman know, I'm tired of you. I want you gone. This is your time. Go vote. Go vote. And while you're voting, I told you, all those you out there in the 34th Ward, where Kerry Austin is currently the alderman, I, the coach, am running for alderman in the 34th Ward. And I want you in Radio Land And those of you that's watching the Coach in TV land, I need 4,000 of you to get your family, your friends, your neighbors together and tell them to go to the poll if they live in the 34th Ward with Carrie Austin, the lady. That's what some of y'all call her when I meet you on the street. The lady is the alderman. And you tell them to vote for Michael E. Mayden. I'm the only Michael, I'm the only E, and I'm the only Mayden on the ballot. The last on the ballot. So if you can't remember, just go all the way to the bottom of the 34th Ward and mark Michael E. Mayden. Don't look for the coach. Michael E. Mayden will be the name on there. If you can't remember my name, and I know y'all get in the polls and forget names, just look for M-E-M. Just think of man. M-E-M. And you remember those initials and you know Michael E. Mayden. Think of Michael Jordan, take the Jordan off and you won't forget Michael. Think of Michael Jackson and vote for Michael Mayden. And if you really can't remember, just think about the Bible and think about the Archangel Michael. I like that one. And you got the coach. So all of those you out there in radio land and TV land, I'm depending on you to be my campaign manager. I'm depending on you to pick up the phone and say, girl, the coach is running, vote for the coach. I don't know the coach, so I can't vote for the coach. Vote for him anyway. Take my word. He gonna be the best choice. Vote for the coach. Now you got some other candidates on there, but the coach is your choice. And if 4,000 people get 5 people to vote for the coach, 4,000 of you that's listening to the coach or watching the coach get 5 people to vote. That's 20,000 votes. It's only 38,000 registered voters. 20,000 votes out of 38,000 registered voters. That only leave 18,000 to split up between the rest of the candidates. The coach win. I got the 50+1 covered, and I'm on the back. I win the race. I got the 50+1 covered, and I win the race. So all of those you out there that live in the 34th Ward, that know somebody living in the 34th Ward, that think you know somebody living in the 34th Ward,